Okay, I'm going to call to order the Culver Town Council meeting at 6:30 for Tuesday, July 27, 2021. Roll call, please.
William Clevenger,
Present.
Bill Giffens,
Here,
Bill Ham.
Here.
Sally Ricciardi,
Here.
Rich West.
Present.
let's all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I want everyone to know that this meeting is being broadcast via Microsoft Teams and is being recorded. Participation in the meeting is your consent to be recorded and to be and to the rebroadcast of the recorded meeting. The recorded meeting will be available for viewing on the town's YouTube channel. First order on business is approval of the previous meeting minutes from July 13th. Is there a motion?
And I also asked for the approval of the June 22nd executive session.
Okay. Approval for June 22nd and July 13th.
I so moved.
Motion been made by Rich. Is there a second? Seconded by Bill Ham to approve those 2 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is Sarah Youvan for the Culver Academies. Did I pronounce your name right?
You actually did, yeah.
Gee.
I don't know how this works, but I brought some printouts. We're asking to place banners around town. We're celebrating 50 years of Girls at Culver this year. And so we're asking to put 5 banners on your light poles around town for the year. We would like these to be up for the entire year, but you know, we're open to whatever.
Yeah, so Sarah approached us about hanging banners on the light poles, and I think we gave dimensions to Sarah to help with the design.
They're all the same.
They're not all the same. There's 5 different ones. There'll be one-
Oh, yeah,
there'll
I
be
see
one
here.
of each design.
To begin when?
We would like to have them up by the beginning of school, but as of right now, they're not printed or approved.
So you have that yet to
We're
do.
hoping in the next 2 weeks,
Okay.
pending approval by you guys.
And these would be all light poles, sir?
Just 5.
Just 5.
Yes,
Light posts?
yes, we're just asking for 5 like.
Do you have them picked out already?
Our preference is to have 2 down on Main Street and 3 down by the lake. I didn't know if I could actually pick light posts or not.
I would suggest that you get with our street department, Bob Porter, who's in the rear of the room there,
Hi.
and work it out with Bob.
Okay,
Is that okay with you, Bob?
That's fine, as long as you guys are in favor of it.
If we approve it, sure.
Is there, and the other thing, I guess, would be, if it's going to be up through the school year, any conflict with the Christmas decorations stuff to go up on those poles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
The Christmas decorations in the past and the light pole and the banners can be on the same pole, but sometimes they block it. So I usually take them down, take the banners down when the Christmas lights are up.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just that there's a practical reality that might impact how long it can be up or when they may be down for a short time.
Then when the Christmas decorations come down, they'll be put back up. Is that all right?
yeah.
Is that council's wishes to do that? Is there a motion
You
to
want a
approve
motion?
these?
I move that we approve the request by the Culver Girls Academy to mount 5 banners in the uptown and downtown street poles during the academic 21-22 year.
And work it out with Bob?
The details to be worked out with the
Motion was made. Is there a second?
second.
Motion been made.
Discussion.
Sure.
The question, are we talking about the calendar year or the academic year?
Academic.
All right, thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, motion been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks a lot, Sarah.
Do you want these
Sure.
back?
And I think I gave you Bob's contact info, but if not, I'll send it your way.
Thank
Okay,
you very
good.
Thanks, sir.
We have EJP, AMI readers.
Thank you for
Please
having us.
come forward, state your name. and-
Yep, my name is Kellen Cripe. I'm the outside salesman in your territory. I deal with Bob quite often. I'd like to introduce my team. This is Bill, he's our local tech support. Dave, he is our meter specialist, and Jeremy, he's our project manager. They'll be.
I thank you all for your time. I was talking with Bob and he asked if we could come in and just present briefly an overview. Because with AMI, we could be here forever. So,
You don't want that. I don't want the blind.
I'll take the blame. No,
so we put a couple, handouts together and just explain kind of what you have now, where it can lead into to the AMI.
Anita, why don't you go to?
You're right.
Good.
So today you all have what we call a walk by drive by. You have a water meter and a smart point radio transmitter. You go out and pick up reads. What we propose, we've already ran what we call propagation study to see what kind of infrastructure we need. We've done all that already. And so where it's at, 2 base stations cover percent read actually. So just a little history where you're at and where we're talking about going with it. Wells no cover is what AMI is. It's more than just reading the meter. It's more of a management system because of all the things it offers as far as the data packets. The transmitter will read your meter every hour, stores and reads it every 45, and sends it over to the clerk. There's real-time alarms. If a leak pops up, it shows it's real time. Reverse flow, that's real time also, right? Tampers, if anybody tampers with your meters, it's in real time. So you can notify customers of the excessive use of water. Breaks, like I said, the reverse flows, it seems like to be an important one if somebody pulls the meter out. You get an empty pipe. Believe it or not, there's a lot of water theft that goes on in either ways, looking at fixing that. Like I said, it's more than just a meter reading. I mean, if you just want meter reads, you can do that now. But for customer service, helping the end users is what it's about, and helping the city find your lost revenue. I don't know what it is, I don't know what it does, but so, and then with that, it does other things. I don't know if you own your streetlights. We do street lighting with the same system, with the FlexNet system. We can go into that. We have a module that goes on the lights, and we can control them. We can dim them, flash them. Like if you own your lights, how do you know if you have a light out at night? Somebody rides around and calls in. He lets us know. There you go. Over the next day, if there's no burning, this system alerts you right away. The light doesn't come on, if the light doesn't go out. Plus, it monitors the usage of the electric lights. This is just some of the things we can touch on. I don't know where Bob actually wanted me to deal with all of this, but during the thing,
Basically more that it's just a meter. It'll save us time.
oh yeah,
And the biggest part for the girls up at town hall is we get a lot of, there's no way the meter's right. So we need to audit now. Well, that only stores for 30 days. This system, it goes out to 3 years.
Yeah. I'll give him that.
Just
So there's no more readers going out reading the meters. They're all read from the clerk's office. She pushes a button, what's it take? A couple seconds, 10 seconds, you have all your reads that come across. And on that, if you miss a read, you can ping a meter and get a read at any time. Dave here lives at 100 Main Street. I'm moving. I come into the clerk's office. I'm moving, instead of rolling the truck out to get the last read, to do this, clerk just hits a button, reads my meter, gives me my last bill, so you're not chasing bills. Before you leave town, you have your money. That's just one, because our system is what they call true two-way system. Our meter sits there, but the radio transmitter works both ways. You can communicate to it, and it communicates back to you. So the data that it stores, you can pull. The meter itself that you have today holds 35 days of hourly reads. SmartPoint holds 35 days of hourly reads. The stations at your two sites will hold 60 days in the R&I, but then the actual software holds 3 years of data. So you can go back 2 years, 3 years to see what that was at that time. That's part of the data package that it carries. We also see, Jeremy, we did this morning for another town for 3 hours. Yeah. So Logansport, we were there for the second time. The first time was 4 hours. So that's what I'm saying. You can really get into the weeds with it. And we could do that at a different time. Time's back. With that, the clerk can read it. Like I said, rereads. If you miss 1,300 meters, you miss 4 reads. Instead of rolling the guys out, she can ping each meter individually to get that. You have your parameters set. It will alert you if it's too high, too low. It's all at your fingertips.
So if someone has like a leaking toilet, like if my toilet starts leaking tonight, it could potentially ping the clerk the next day
Well,
or flag it or.
how it'll do, it works on a continuous flow. What we look for is 24 hours of continuous flow that flags a leak. So if your toilet's running for 24 hours and we're looking at 1 gallon an hour for 24 hours, it will ping a possible leak. That's correct.
Yeah, we had, like, I just had my sister had a leaking toilet that was an $878 bill.
This is
And
what
you don't know
helps
until the
fix
end of
that.
the month.
Right, because you're going out and getting a read. You're doing everything afterwards.
Yeah.
This heads it up.
Right.
This is proactive. So let's say I'm in 100 Main Street, I get a leak, I leave garden hose on that. Grandkids are over playing slip slide, whatever it may be, hose is running. It's going to end up pretty quick. You'll see it. How you all approach people do different things. We have quite a few systems. A lot of them call and give them heads up, and then you'll takes a little used to the end users getting used to this. I don't have a leak. You're going to get one warning, you have a leak. So fix it or you're paying that $900 bill. Yes, we're
I
right.
think the easy way to think about it is you've already got the census drop-by system.
Yeah, you already have.
You're collecting every 30 days. So you're always 30 days at best in the rear.
Right.
So all FlexNet really does is take and collect the data more often and give it to you real time. So instead of being 30 days and go, oh, you see a problem 30 days after it happened, having a leak continue for 30 days, it increases your customer support because when that continuous consumption happens, it's an immediate notification. You can adjust your business practices for that, right? That's where the customer support comes back. You can change your practices for how you handle leaks adjustments. So it really comes down with FlexNet compared to drive-by. Where can you save your capital expense and where can you reduce your operational expense? And then what can you do with all this extra data? Because as you get it and evolve into it, it's not just a meter reading system. I tell everybody wants it because it's quick. It gives you a meter reading system that lets you get leaks. It lets you do rereads. It's literally this simple. This is not the overstatement. If you want to read at 3 o'clock on the third Thursday of every month, it takes you 30 seconds to do so. Remember, these are talking all the time now. So instead of going by with your VGB now, it gets a signal, wakes up, gets read, you go back to process just a bill, right? What it does is it takes the infrastructure you already have in place and now collects that data more often.
Right.
And then if you have more data, you can do more things, right? So now I've had people up in New England area that bill quarterly because of weather, right? Now they're billing monthly. I've had people go to biannual or bi-monthly billing to keep cash flow moving. So it gives you lots of options, right? But the main thing is it gives you all the data to see what the reads are, and that becomes a secondary process when we flex them. You pick the time of day you want to read, the data's sitting there, you're literally just saying, give me the latest read now. I mean, it's literally that quick. It's a 30-second process. It's the same type of file. We're right in billing. That side of your process does not change. That's the good part. Your business practices don't change with this. Your reading methodology changes because instead of sending somebody out, coming back, figuring out what read you have to do, look at your high-low violations, probably going back out and doing it, all that becomes automated now. Because as soon as you hit read, it's going to say, I read 1,200 or 1,154 meters. Well, you've got 6 that didn't read. It'll tell you why it didn't read. Did somebody take the radio? Did it cut a wire? Did it not communicate with the radio? Did it not communicate with the meter? So all the things you've got to guess about doing, it tells you what to do. So you can roll one time for your regular maintenance stuff, or like Dave said, do it and just read it again. And now you're literally done all your reading, which takes a couple of days now, probably, maybe a day or two.
What's it take, Bob? Day and a half, 2 days?
The physical reading is probably a day and a half, but then the deputy clerk goes through and gets well, this one might be a problem. So we go out, we have to search for that MXU, which is the box on the side of the house. Ping it, comes back in, get the reading, come back up here, verify that with her that there is a leak, call them, and you're going to be 2 weeks late. By the time you read, you bill, they come in, you're 2 weeks old dead.
So that's the operational expense that comes with Dutch, right? It increases customer service because you're taking a week to 10-day process and turning it into literally a couple hours from beginning to end, right?
Well, that's where the time saving is, and from what you're saying, when a problem arises.
That's
Yeah.
the other thing that we run into, because when people
Right.
have a leak during the filling process, it usually takes them a little bit to
Yep.
call in and realize that, oh my goodness, my water bill is super high. Well, by that time, the 30 days has expired, and you can't get the information to show them, where that leak was.
Sure.
And then it's, well, my meter's not working.
And that's what Dave was talking about. So as from day one starting up to 3 years, you're going to have hourly data for every single
Right.
meter, right? And then it's first in, first out. You can more service basically, or usually 3 years, more than enough time, right? You get a look at it with the customer. You say, hey, customer, what's that leak? When you're going to get the alarm, you can address it, add that to the customer service. And that's usually the biggest thing, right? And give it to them, and they can have it, see it, help find it, show it on the meter. You can also take the data that you have access to, see, spread that out. Say, look, I can see that on Saturday night at 12 o'clock, some continuous flow started, and it ran for 3 days. It ran for 1 day. It's still running now. So you have all this data to be able to say, there is an issue, right?
Right.
And the good part is with redundancy, right? Because you're going to get that alarm, and it's going to tell you as soon as it happens. Now you can actually go out and download the meter too, if you needed to. The same data is going to sit in the system. They have 2 places they look. Here it is through the transmission. Here's the meter, right? It's all the same data. It's built in redundancy. Diverse pipe, so you got leak, that's the triples, that's the the commodes running. But sometimes in the wintertime freeze, you get a burst pipe. There's a different alarm for that. It says, hey, I've got the high flow, and you get a program this parameter. If I see 15 gallons per minute to some volume go through, it'll tell you that because not too many years, but every 3 years we get these massive cold snaps that come through, pipes burst, right? So all these conditional alarms come through. As soon as the criteria is met, they get transmitted. The good thing about the system is data management, right? Every alarm that comes through can be assigned to a report to get email or text to somebody. So you don't have to wait a day, a week, or whatever. You can schedule in a report to run, and then when these reports run, you can email people. Say, Bob, if you want every report, have at it, Bob. If you got people who want to have certain things, you can start dividing it up. So again, that's the operational expense. You don't have to wait for everybody to come in, sit around, have a cup of coffee, figure out what they're going to do. You can have it sitting there ready for them when it's populated. And your system health, after you figure it out, 'cause you've got some meters age from.
There's some old, yeah.
Yeah, so when things happen, they'll tell you right now, you have no clue what's going on because your meter can give you a read, right? You don't have a clue how the consumption looks. Is it falling down? Is it going up? The system will tell you these things. Is it registered down? It'll give you all these reports. It'll take a few months and a little bit of extra money because you'll fix things you don't even know are broken yet. Then you're going to have a nice smooth system with just routine, regular maintenance to stay on top of it. And then you can add in a lot of other things on top of it.
You mentioned 2 options. You talked about street lighting. That's not what we're looking at this point. Is that correct?
That's
Okay.
just an option.
Okay.
Just an option that goes with it.
Second question is this wireless network conflicts with other wireless networks in town? Its bandwidth, what is what types of problems do you have with that and who's responsible for that wireless network that this all connects to?
We already have that in place. We already have an FCC license for this reading system.
Okay,
So
so
this is just the data management portion of it.
Got it.
Okay. We're wanting to upgrade.
So our smart point runs on a 2-watt power. So we have an FCC license with our transmitter, smart point transmitter, whatever they call it. So to have a full 2 watts that we carry, you have to have the FCC license. What happens is you get assigned a frequency. Culver has its own frequency. Nobody runs in that frequency with 2 watts.
And you already have it.
And you already have it. So that's already done. It was done the day you started putting the UM radios in. So you have that. So what happens, and this does happen, it's happened Huntingburg, it's happened in Oakwood, different towns. Let's say a radio station, we'll just use this for example. This happened in Oakwood, Ohio. Over at UD, radio station come in, put antennas up, and drowned out transmissions. They start losing reads. Census comes in with an RF engineer, they find the problem, they go to it, they're in your frequency. They're not allowed. FCC gives them a day to get out. And they can charge them up to $10,000 a day. So that frequency, nobody plays with it. It's yours. West Milton, same thing. Huntingburg, same thing. Microsoft company come in, turn their DVs up on their tower, they drowned out, they dropped 200 reads in the town. Came in, looked at it. When we left that day, it was normal. So it's yours.
You all already are the primary license.
You're the primary license.
So the meter and the radios you already have in the ground
We don't
doesn't
affect
change.
it. Yeah,
All we're doing
nothing
is putting up towers to collect those reads for every hour instead of driving the truck around every 30 days. And that's the main difference. And the good part about it is they self-migrate. So when we put up towers, you're not going to have to go around and change anybody's radio. They start and listen every 3.5 days to see if they hear a tower. If they do, they go, oh, somebody's put a tower up now. I'm going to move myself to the next. So it's literally as easy as putting up the network, letting your radios migrate themselves to it. And now they'll talk through the tower instead of through the
And
video.
and it has expandability. So if we were to have a subdivision developed on the west and going north of town or on the south, going south of town, it's expandable to accommodate that.
That's correct. And we can see, so Dave talked about rate of propagation study, and what that is. Census takes land use, topography, the tower, all this fun RF engineering stuff says, here's your coverage area. Your all's coverage area is way past what Culver is now. We can show it to you. And it's a real simple map. You look at it, where it's green means you're covered. And that's a guaranteed thing for 98.5% read success over a 3-day billing window.
When they say that, they guarantee it, means if they don't read that 98.5% reading, Census will put up more infrastructure on their network. Not cities, towns. So what we say they'll do, that's what they do.
Okay,
So,
thank you very much.
and that's an overview. There's a lot you can look
You
at.
you can keep the weeds.
That's what I thought.
There's our weed whacker back there.
He's back in the corner.
I'm always.
Any council members have any other questions?
How many meters do we have in town? 140. How's about 150 meters?
These towers that you put up, are they actual?
They're actually going to water tanks.
Okay.
What we do, it's there's a picture in there. It's a little M400 base station we call it, 22 by 22 by 10. It's actually sits at the bottom. Coax runs to the top of the tower with an antenna, and we do all that installing, mount it and everything. That's what goes on the actual water tower. It's just a coax.
We have a SCADA system now.
The station itself,
Not for water. I got one of the stations on, it, but we talked about it. It's
Say it's usually the best quarter. See what it looks like. It looks like a SCADA RC. It's a little needle for it. So it's that big.
not very
Mount
big.
on the bottom. It hooks up the tower. It's all the brains and operations, and there's a piece of coax and antenna. And that's
all.
it is.
And what we did when we ran the propagation study, we used the towers for the assets. The higher we are, the better coverage we get.
Where your water tanks usually on the house point. In the house.
Right,
right.
So they work out great.
Why are there two bases if
our coverage area is so big, I was originally thinking that it was geography. You said initially that there's 2 base stations that collect this.
Correct.
Is that because of the limitation of the base station itself or the geography or?
It's a lot of different things. So it's geography, it's topography, it's land use, it's building cover, and redundancy.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you too, yeah.
So that's the thing. And you're also, you could probably really run it off one. What happens then if your backhaul goes down, right? Internet goes out, all of a sudden you go, oh man, I can't get it.
Yeah.
We try to run everything on a minimum of each meter talking to at least 1.7 towers.
Correct.
Right? So we put in 2, so if one falls down, you're really not gonna miss anything. Or if you do, it's gonna be such a minimal part of your system that it's not gonna create an excessive workload on you to go through and download reads or go through and do demand reads or batch reads. So they'll basically cover each other.
So what kind of service do you offer as far as support for this system? You talked about troubleshooting and bandwidths being violated and things like that.
It's all up. So with FlexNet, you'll have an annual support. And what that covers is all the licensing, the software, the hosting fees, when the support. That support basically says when anybody calls us, hey, so that radio doesn't work, meter doesn't work, just like you would now, same support. It's just on a different reading system instead of drive-by, it's FlexNet. If the reads start falling down, somebody's gonna be calling us and saying, hey, we're missing reads. Dave, Bill, myself, Kellen, plus Census are all gonna be able to respond to that, find the actual problem, and then a solution to it. It's never simplification, but it really is, when you have a problem, you call and we help fix it.
What is that annual fee?
I don't know. It was all included. I gave a price on that.
Okay.
Also what it is, it's a hosted site, so you have no servers on site. You'll get a username and password, as many users as you want. It's not limited. So it's looked at 24/7. Your system will always be looked at. So I get texts, Bill gets them. If a tower goes down for something, for a short period of time, we get a text. We know before you do that it's down. We fix it over the air. A lot of stuff is, and then 10 minutes later, we get one, nodes back up and running, you know. So we even get it, if you go out and open up the cabinet door on it to look at something or anybody, we get notified. So always looked at. All hosted sites, whether it looks like a big war room, if you've ever seen one, big screens, they sit there and they monitor everybody's system. We have what, over 1,100 of them out right now? These FlexNet systems.
The incidence of leaks. Is it a big problem there? I've never had one in my life, so that's why.
Count yourself in a small group. So we have,
Okay.
Julie runs a report every month, and she usually, depending on the year, she'll probably call 8 to 15 people at the end of the month and say, hey, you got
Oh, really?
high water usage. And then depending on the, it may be a toilet, it may be a hose running, it may be a burst pipe, you never know. But she does spend a lot of time on the phone with people following up, and this would actually be very helpful because we do get a lot of people that say, well, it's not me, it's the meter, it's not working.
And some people don't have a sprinkler meter either.
Oh, really?
You should have a separate sprinkler meter.
Yeah, well.
Don't water,
I'm
don't,
taking it out of the lake, so I don't.
well,
So, but that.
I'll run my hose down to you.
You have lots of snowbirds?
Yes.
And that's the other thing, is we have a lot of people who are
They
not
don't
here.
realize.
Right.
That's right.
So when you got a burst pipe, that
That's right.
really will come into play then. And we've had that.
What do you project the cost to be for a town of Culver?
We actually,
We actually
Gave
know
Bob
the
the quote,
cost.
guys don't have it.
I don't have it with me.
Yeah, we have the. quote
Yeah, they have
last
the price.
Mhm.
I'm trying to.
I didn't bring mine with me.
I didn't either.
6-figure number.
It's,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
The
153 something.
sorry.
While she's looking that up, do you have any graphic capabilities? Data would beg to be graphed of it
Yes.
inside the software itself, or do you
Yes.
have to export it?
No.
Okay.
it's inside the software.
It's inside the
so it
software
can be
itself.
exported.
Yeah.
So when you see your usage, you can look at it tabular, or you can look at it graphically, you can look at it by the day, which will give you every hour, you can look at it by the week. It's
Monthly.
a sliding scale, so you set your date range, and it'll display it to however it is. If you pick 7 days, it'll display 7 days.
Kind of like that today, we even had a gal who came in who wanted to know the average usage on a rental property because that person was paying their rent plus utility. And she realized their utility usage was much higher than what they were paying for, and she covered the gap. So Julie had a heck of a time trying to figure out, like, on average, what that person was using. They were clearly having guests this summer because the usage was much higher, but
So you can take the
this,
data.
it would be so much easier.
Quick, when you done.
Karen, did you find those numbers?
House on the West Shore,
Could you-
they had to, they tore it down and rebuilt it. You probably know about it, Chuck. Because it flooded so badly in the winter and they don't come in the winter. And it was just beyond repair.
When I was on Lake Patrol, I remember going past the house, and by the time we saw it, the water was coming out the bathroom window on the first floor, which meant the basement was done and the first floor was finished.
Yeah.
Here's something else to think about, because you do have a lot of vacations, a lot of snowbirds, a lot of seasonal usage, right? One of the water meters we offer is called an ally. It actually has a remote disconnect built to the meter. So instead, when you have people moving out, instead of turning it off and maybe rolling a truck to go turn it off, which is cost, you can literally from the office hit disconnect and the meter will close itself off. So if people move out for the winter, when seasonal people move, you can do it, or habitual people who don't pay their bill, right? There's certain, it's not a meter you put through your entire system that is very applicable in certain situations, right? Being on the lake. A lot of people winterize their place to take off. Well, shut the meter off. Another great service. That calls down, moving, you final bill the demand for you, shut the meter off. Now it can't flood. So it's, again, it's just a management tool. It's communication. We can spend, I spent 4 hours talking about it this morning with water and electric. So
Karen, can you share the cost, please?
Yeah.
Everybody got a while to guess?
We're looking for it right now.
I thought it was one.
Karen found it.
I have it.
Okay.
It's 153,990, which is what we presented last week, or last meeting.
Right.
And that's the upfront installation cost, the annual operating cost? Do we have-
The annual census is,
that is the installation of the network in the first years.
yeah, that's everything. And then going forward, I believe 7,040 for annual fee census analytics.
And there'll be a
And
one.
then there should be an R&I.
I've got it right here. Bear with me.
RNI, annual RNI, that's 8,240.
So
In addition to the
So between
7,
the two,
in addition to the 7?
yes.
So 15, 15,
so
16.
15,280.
Thank you.
I think you pay 7 now.
So the analytics itself is a separate,
There's two softwares. We have what we call an R&I, and then there's a census analytics. Think of this. The R&I is all the raw data coming in from the system, right? It comes up. Then we take that data with your billing system, which everything starts with account numbers, names, phone numbers, emails, and all that. So you marry them together, and SA is what. So you take all this raw data, you put it to an account, an address, and name. So R&I, it's where it first goes. If all you're getting is reads, data. Doesn't know who it belongs to, none of that. All that comes from your billing software. So when and that's all in there, the integration of all that, which we do all that, it's all priced up. So that's what SA comes from. It's all-
Organize your server. It's your server. It's your web service, all the people.
Yeah.
All your radios across tower shoots it off to the cloud. That's just the cloud feed for all the data sets. Analytics is where it pulls from Mary's CIS to your communications, your system, and gives you the interface to work with. So that's where you live and breathe, look at the data, listen to your alarms, look at your controls, all that.
it was a 15 covers your customer service.
Correct. Support is built into those analytics.
It's built into those annual sheets
Okay, thank you.
on the hosted sites.
Yeah, 6 years from now, if this thing crashes, who pays to fix it?
Explain to me when
Yeah, when you
you
say
say.
crash.
I mean, if it quits working,
There's really nothing to quit working, because that's why it's hosted, right? So it used to be the first half, you'd have to have your own IT department, you'd have servers sitting back in the environmentally controlled room, everything being hosted down. there's nothing to crash. It's data redundant on data like Cat5 centers. So they're hurricane proof and mirrored everywhere. So there's honestly nothing to crash because it's in the cloud. Worst case scenario, you get a computer crash, probably a computer too,
Well,
but it can be accessed from anywhere.
I mean, like your antenna, the base station at the bottom,
You call us, and we take care of it.
is there a bill included with that, or
Base station? Sorry, man.
is there a bill?
If it's outside of warranty, yes, there would be. Yeah.
So what's the warranty?
1 year on the base station and the antenna.
Then there is also an extended warranty of like $12.50 a year for each base station. That covers everything except for lightning. But the way they're grounded, I know, it had
Lightning is going.
I'll tell you,
and that's insurance anyway, so it doesn't come out of your pocket.
you're $12.50 a year, $12.50 or $1,250. Just asking.
Or 12,500?
I'm just trying, you know me, guys.
Getting a burger, Lake House.
Bill, if it was just 12.50 a year, I'd just do it.
I know, but you know,
It's a risk reward thing. So
Like your water meter and your smart point that you have, you have 20-year warranties on them now.
okay,
So just so you're aware of that.
And it is risk reward, say question, 12.50 a year, you have 2 base stations, 2,500. And that covers the maintenance, material work and everything. They're $50,000 a piece, right?
right, I got
But
that.
the frequency, I can tell you this, it's worth the insurance, but very few times do you actually have issues with them.
I understand that. I just want to know the money going in. We're in the middle of budget season. We spent 3 hours. So you'll know where I'm coming from.
And we're also cranky because.
That's right.
Mine's coming up in October, so Kellen loves me come budget season.
Let's kind of wrap this up. Any more council issues?
No.
Anything left? Oh, Anita, this is Anita
For
Goodnar.
the record, Anita Goodman, Max 98.3 FM News, WKBI Radio. Does the installation include new meters or do you
No.
use the existing meters?
Existing meters. It's already.
Chuck?
What they were talking about with the.
State your name, Chuck. Chuck, state your name.
Chuck DeWitt, over building commissioner. And anything else that I do?
I just felt.
I get the opportunity to work with other towns all day yesterday. It was the end of the month in Bourbon. And they had one lady all day long just answering calls about the water bill. And why is mine high? What do you do here? What's going on? All day long. So and I know these ladies here get a lot of calls too. So it's everywhere for the same reasons. If you can eliminate it, it seems like a good idea to me. By the way, I think it's going to be over.
We already got that. I thought that was a paid political advertisement for their business.
What are we looking today here to do?
Do we need to approve it? Well, we approved the expense last time. This was just,
No.
we did not, okay.
That's why they're here.
Okay, all right, all right.
Talk us into it.
If you'd like to make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that motion.
Too bad you don't have a vote. Is that what you would like to do now?
If it is your
Shall I-
desire to move
I will-
ahead.
What is council's
And just
wishes?
clarification on this, Karen, I think the documentation that you sent out indicated 50% from water fund, 50% from sewer.
Correct.
And with the other backup information that you gave us, it didn't place us in any financial jeopardy with the reserves on those funds or operating.
Yeah, there was plenty of money available.
I just wanted to.
I can't.
On the record.
We're not going to have to change rates or increase rates.
No, I will tell you, we need to do a rate study and we need to look at that, but increase in rates will not be.
One is not predicated on the other. One is not predicated on the other.
Got it.
I'd like to see a return on investment study on this. I mean, $150,000 is a lot of money for 1,100 meters.
Come sit in my office for the first week of the month.
Well,
Come sit with Julie for the.
I mean,
first week.
you know, I can see in a much larger city, it makes a lot of sense, but, you know, I have trouble with 150,000.
Well, let's move this forward. And is there a motion to accept this proposal?
And if you want to think about it for another 2 weeks,
Yeah.
that's fine too.
I'd like to think about it for a little bit and
Okay, that's fine too.
see if there's any input from, you know, interested parties.
Okay, we've got all the information I think we need. So council's wishes to postpone this discussion for 2 weeks.
And we can probably talk about it in our budget work session with,
We got that coming up, yeah.
yes, on Thursday.
Okay,
And just keep in mind, this won't really come out of this budget,
Right.
so much as it'll come out of the
No.
funds.
that'll come out of money that's already there, not out of a budget. Right,
Right, it's not something we'll budget to purchase.
right. Yeah, because money is already there to pay for this, if that's what we so choose to do.
And there are also funds that aren't governed by Department of Local Government
Right.
Finance.
So it has to be spent on the utility or?
So the funds in water and sewer can only be spent on water and sewer. But we don't have in our budget process, the Department of Local Government Finance, which oversees any funds tied to property taxes, they have to give final approval. They don't oversee operate the enterprise funds, basically is what we call it.
Okay.
Water and sewer is not tax dollars, it's actually
Usage.
generated revenue, it's not,
I got it.
it's not a tax dollar.
Okay, well, then we'll talk about it in the budget and we'll resume discussion in 2 weeks on this.
We'll put on the agenda for next.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great,
Thank you.
great presentation though. Thank you.
Thank you.
Short and sweet.
No, it's over.
Thank you, guys.
I think we have this online. You need these back?
So you can keep this.
Okay, because
Yeah, I know we got them online. I
we've
saw
got
it.
it online. If you need.
No, that's okay.
It's Culver.
Keep them, use them for start.
Okay, all right.
Bonfire.
Yeah.
Take this home, Jake will eat it.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you all for having.
Thank you. Yeah.
And during your budget discussions, if you're looking for help on figuring out return on investment, we can send you a sheet that goes through and gives all the different places we're gonna have operational reductions and capital savings. So if you like that, just have Bob get hold of us, we're happy with, help steer in whatever
Yes.
direction your data comes up.
Oh, super.
Yep.
Please. Thank you very much.
That's great.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, sir.
Okay, moving on, electronic sign policy.
Yeah, that's me. I've given you guys a handout. That we talked at our last meeting about adding a couple of things. One of which was, who approves the final content of the message board.
Mhm.
I added a sentence and included a line that Jim thought would be appropriate, where either myself or Karen would approve the final content message. But if for some reason we declined it based on this policy, the requesting person would appeal to the town council. So, Karen declines a message someone wants to put on the board because it's of a political nature or violates the policy, they still have an ability to come before you and make that request. And then the last sheet of that policy is just a simple thing Karen and I threw together. We may want to modify this at some point, but we basically asked for their information, who they are, what organization they represent, when they want their message to start and end, what the message is. Do they have permission to use any graphics they give us? They could give us a logo or something like that. And then whoever approves the message will date it, submit it to Karen for putting it on the board, and this is just a basic submittal form that we can hand people. And Julie Cal can hand them this whole thing and say, here's our policy for the message board. If you want to submit, look at the last page, essentially. So that's where we're at with it. We'd love to get your vote on this tonight, just so we can start using this thing. And of course, 6 months from now, we may want to change 15 pieces of it. But we're ready to go.
That last page is excellent.
Good.
We need that.
The only suggestion on the last page, I don't know if you want to include something about having the message on more than just our board, like continuing it in the system. Is there a provision, or do we want to?
In like the county system,
Well,
the
That's-
other boards in the county?
yes. So, I mean, just checking the box saying, would you like to
Yeah,
have,
we could,
would you like to have this, or would you suggest or
do
ask
you want
to
to
have this
promote
message
just beyond Culver?
beyond the Culver electronic sign board?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. There's 5 other boards in the county that could potentially have it
Right.
go on there, so we'll add that if everyone's. okay
Especially
with
for
that.
big events that might be.
Right.
Yeah, and I think the
Like
Crossroads team
that.
is putting together whatever that looks like. Like if we want to promote Lake Fest and Bourbon and Bremen and so on, there's going to be a policy for how to do that. So this particular question will get to that.
Any other changes?
I would move that we approve the policy as presented
And amended?
with the, to the form.
Made by Rich, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Sally to approve the format presented with the amendment Rich suggested. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is ordinance 2021-009. Ordinance to establish an unsafe building fund. You want to do that, or you want me to? Everybody got this ordinance and has looked it over? I think we know where this came from, you know. Really had to do with what the money we spent on 415 Lake Shore. And we just paid it out of the general fund, and now we're gonna have a special fund where we'll put money into it every year, and the money we got back from the county after taxes and stuff, we will put back into that account. It's around $56,000, I recall, give or take. Yes.
I don't have it printed here. I've got it electronically.
Karen wrote it up and Jim looked at it. And you're,
Yeah, you have to have an ordinance to, you know, you have to have a place to get the money.
Get the
That's what
money,
she's
right.
doing. So she's just creating the fund. And she indicated that she basically followed the state statute. I looked at it briefly, kind of remembered, but looks like that's pretty much what we've done, so.
and in the future, when we have like problems, we'll take money out of that account and
Take
when
money out, collect money,
money-
put it back in.
when we get liens paid back for cutting grass and,
Well, this is just for
No,
unsafe
just
buildings.
unsafe.
oh, on the, yeah, but on the unsafe building.
Yeah, but you're not,
Property.
you can't.
No.
put the-
No.
yeah.
Not
I just wanna
regular,
Make sure there's.
no, I understand that.
But yes, so basically Chuck and I were talking, when we're doing, but as we're going through the budgets,
Right.
realizing that this isn't one of those funds that is supported by property taxes.
Right.
Unless you decide you want to put money into it. It doesn't necessarily need to be budgeted, but let's go through that process and say, if you want to give Chuck the direction of you can spend up to $20,000 next year to remediate unsafe buildings, then that money's available. You still have to go through a little bit of a process to, spend those funds.
Right.
But you can go ahead and do that. And then as liens are placed and liens are paid back or invoices are paid back, it will go into that fund.
Because when we cleaned up 415 Lake Shore, it came out of the general fund.
It did.
So now we're creating a fund to put those monies that were expended back in. So We now have an account for that. So basically, I need a motion to approve ordinance 2021-009, which is an ordinance of the town of Culver, established an unsafe building fund.
First pass.
On first read.
No vote.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Bill Clevenger, seconded by Sally, to approve ordinance 2021-009 on first read. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign.
In light of the unanimous vote on this ordinance, we move to suspend the rules for the second and third reading.
Is there a motion to that effect?
And the one I'm looking at had the 26th day of July on the bottom instead of 27th. So properly dated.
Oh, we need to fix the date, 27.
Sorry about that.
I second Richard's motion.
Motion made by Rich and seconded by Bill Clevenger to approve ordinance 2021-009. To suspend the rules and pass on second and third reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. Thank you, Karen, for writing that up. Good job. Regional stellar plan update.
Yeah, no real updates for our particular projects other than, I know the environmental is coming along on the 2 trail pieces in our regional trail plan. And Mike and Bob have been talking about that design such that when we do the residential areas on that design, we want to go with a normal 5-foot sidewalk that will feed from, where there's Cass Street and the paddocks, how we've got a trail coming down Jefferson Street that's wider. The residential areas would feed into that, and that particular trail will eventually connect near the bank, which should then sort of connect to Lake Max Phase 2. So that the key 8-foot trails will be Lake Max Phase 2, Jefferson Street, and then all the residential areas will connect via sidewalk. So that's what we're looking at for that design. And then the other thing I wanted to let you know about the regional stellar, the Crossroads team just recently completed all those ready grants, which you saw in my town manager report. Thursday morning, Marty Oosterbahn and I have been asked to go talk to the radio station in Plymouth about where the regional team is at, what the Crossroads are up to. So you may hear us on the radio, and we're just kind of given this is what's going on in each of the communities with their regional stellar plan and getting them up to date.
On Max or WTCA?
Mix.
Max, good.
That's really all I have for the regional stellar plan update. Stellar plan for us, I'll cover in the town manager report. So we'll kind of combine those 2 topics. So right now, State Road 10 sidewalks in West Jefferson Street is one of our NDOT stellar projects. As you can see, there's major construction on West Jefferson Street. We've had it closed for periods of time when there's two trucks side by side and heavy work going on there. And Bob has been all over monitoring that project. We just went out, looked at it yesterday after lunch. Things are moving along pretty well. I think you said mid-August. Bob was about there.
August 6th is their goal to have the sidewalk curved approaches, light post bases, things like that. And it won't have topsoil and sod in just yet. That's your goal for.
So about end of next week, pretty substantial progress. Lake Max Phase 2, which is also an industrial communities project. I'd let you know that the CRC, when we went to letting on this project, it came out over our estimated construction. By about $26,000, we were over on the construction bid. Keeping in mind, though, that that did not include additional contingencies. Contingencies are usually a certain percentage of those contracts. So we went back to the CRC, who's doing the match on this, and said, hey, we're likely to be over budget. Are you willing to cover that gap? Do you want us to adjust the scope of the project? The CRC has agreed to pay up to an additional 100,000 to cover that. That should be more than enough to cover contingencies on the gap. We are looking at possibly though reducing the width of the trail on the very south end down South Main Street toward the cemetery. That's one of the areas we were still at a 10-foot width. And we're looking at reducing that to 8 feet, which would reduce the construction cost quite a bit. The other thing it would do is it would allow us to keep a couple of trees that we were going to have to take out. We think that solution will help with construction costs. It'll also probably please the neighbors a bit. So we think that might be the ideal thing to do. Mike Reese is checking with NDOT to ensure that we would be allowed to do that. But we think that shouldn't be a problem. So just wanted to update you on that. No, it's not a stellar project. Lake Mass Phase 3 is also an NDOT grant project. We're still working out some details with Culver Academies, but the CRC also considered the fact that we were going to be sharing a cost with Culver up to $30,000. And they have voted and agreed to take on that cost so that the town doesn't have to take on that cost. Is there from the CRC, we really appreciate how they've stepped up. Slate and Jefferson Street Trail, which is the one we were talking about early, environmentals coming along in that. They've also been doing environmental on Phase 3, so we'll soon hear results of environmental. One of the reasons we have not finished the agreement with Culver Academies on Phase 3, NDOT has a procedure for how you acquire easements, and they don't like you to make those agreements until the environmental work is done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the reasons we're a bit of a delay there. And that pretty much covers the stellar projects. Bob, did you have anything else to add? Okay. And I'll keep moving on in this town manager report. You guys probably saw the rain garden go in over at Park and Shop. Already had to do a little work, I think. The rain we've been getting. The department, Amber won't be here tonight, and I really don't have anything to report on for her other than Patty Stallings had contacted us about the Gift of Warmth coming up. As you guys know, that's a movie in the park and a really big event in town. They would like to start promoting that event and hang a banner on the park fence. Amber and I don't have any issue with that. They generally will put out signs for that event ahead of the event, but we would need your permission because it's not in our sign ordinance to approve of putting a banner up on the park fence and some other signage that they would like to put out to promote the Gift of Warmth.
What's the date of the Gift of Warmth?
It's Labor Day weekend.
The 4th, September 4th.
September.
And you'll see, I sent Patty a special event permit form
That was
that
my
they'll
next
get
question.
worked out for the next meeting. So we'll try to get that prepared for your first meeting in August. But in the meantime, they want to start getting promotions underway.
Oh,
So did you want to start putting up a sign in the very near future?
Within probably 2 weeks,
Okay,
you know.
Yeah.
Second week in August.
okay.
So we need a motion tonight to,
Yeah, I'd like to, just so that if they want to get it up before our next meeting, there's not an issue with that.
Assuming that the application for the Gift of Warmth event request meets these approval of all the department heads involved, I would move that we approve that event contingent upon that for September 4th.
Yep.
And allow signage to be put up on the fence.
I'll second.
motion been made by Rich, seconded by Bill Clevenger to approve the Gift of Warmth, putting up signage now and to come a special event permit that they'll present to us. And the signage would go on the fence at the park. All those in favor? Whoop.
So
are you approving the special event?
No,
request?
no,
Yeah,
no.
that's what it sounded like.
Because that's what Rich's motion was.
Contingent upon it. being
Contingent upon.
approved By the department head signing off.
Right, but you're approving the special event
Okay, okay.
before it's been submitted.
We need two motions.
I would do the motion to approve the fencing, the sign of the fence, and then wait until we've submitted the special event.
All right, I'll withdraw my original motion, and submit a motion to approve placing the sign for the gift of warmth on the fence of the park.
I'll second that.
Motion been made by Rich, seconded by Sally to approve gift of warrant, placing a sign on the fence at the park. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
And so special event permit to be forthcoming.
Yes.
That's not been approved yet.
All right, so that also covers the park. And I gave you an update on the Stellar's Park project in the park. That's a regional Stellar project, by the way.
Mhm.
Environmental work has been completed. You guys will probably see that Karen and Shannon are advertising for a public hearing for that project, which simply means that Shannon is ready to get our application submitted to Oprah. She has to do a required public hearing for that. That'll take place, I believe, second meeting in August, probably. So, and under town manager updates, I updated you on the broadband meeting that we had that involved some CRC members, Karen Schuman, myself, and David Harling. We had a really productive meeting, shared a lot of information, decided that the best thing to do would be to work as a task force, keeping the town council in the loop, so that this would be a council CRC project. We basically conceive of having this task force identify a consultant who can help write an RFP, who can also help identify providers in the area, what costs might look like, so that we can come back to the town council and the CRC and present a solution. We basically are looking for your blessing to do that as a task force. We would prefer you even vote to sort of authorize this group.
Is there a motion for group to continue work on the broadband task force?
So moved.
Motion made by Bill Ham. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bill Clevenger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay. Thank you. Next, I'm giving you a heads up about the Economic Development Initiative. Cheryl Morphews identified August 30th and 31st as dates to get back together. I should have an agenda for us at the next meeting from her. I have been informing people like the Chamber, Redevelopment, et cetera, about the states. And we'll make a huge effort to keep all those stakeholders informed, because we will want to gather all of them for that. The Ready grants, as you guys know, we sort of sweat, tears, et cetera, to get some of those submitted. The Crossroads team worked heavily on those. The two going in for Culver are for housing and for the basketball court. Both got submitted on time. At this point, the South Bend Elkhart Regional Partnership, they have a committee that's going through all of those applications for the region, and we'll learn more about which ones make the cut, et cetera. We'll just keep you in the loop on that. Message board policy, we've already done that. Next, as I shared with you guys, we had a postmortem meeting with the Lake Fest Committee. That was earlier today. It's a really good meeting, lots of feedback for the Lake Fest Committee. They were very gracious about accepting that feedback and liked some of the ideas that we had about communication and how to handle things in the future. We also let them know when our department heads met on the Lake Fest events, one of the ideas that came out of that Karen had was that maybe we update our special permit form to sort of cue them to some things like, are you going to need barricades? Are you going to need emergency services available? extra police support. Because sometimes they don't even know to put that on the form. So the department heads and I'll work on that. We'll get that updated. Lake Fest Committee was grateful for that idea because they felt naive about some things. But in general, we were very pleased with the fact that they are going to make some changes to accommodate us in the future. Annexation of Tamarack Road, working with Bert Richardson, we need to get his proposal to the CRC on how that might play out. I'm just going to keep communicating about that quite a bit. So sorry if I annoy you in your inbox, but this is sort of a big thing. And Jim and I have been talking and keeping each other in the loop on what's going on there. And anything I get ready to submit for the council on this will go by Jim's eyes before it gets to you.
Okay.
Everything else on here, you've pretty much already been updated on. We did not receive the Preserving Main Street grant, if you hadn't seen that yet. And I will be reaching out to the Academy and trying to get a meeting set up for emergency services again.
Jenny, question on the Ready grant for the housing proposal. I know we circulated some information among the council, but would we be looking for any type of, I guess, the council at this point in time? I know that on the first Ready grant had to do with the park project, was really a follow-up to the grant that the
Yeah.
council had already approved for the AARP.
I think what we'll need to
Application.
do, Rich, is probably do a resolution for that. Ideally, we would have submitted a resolution that says town council housing project. And I think what we do is maybe see if we make the cut and then go to the trouble of doing some of the legal documentation.
Okay.
If we don't make the cut, then it would feel like a,
Just not having the council support at this point in time, influence the.
I don't think so. All the housing projects that got submitted for Marshall County were like that because it was so last minute.
Okay.
I think Plymouth, they submitted one, we submitted one, and I believe they were trying to get another one in for one of the other communities, but I don't want to be quoted on that.
Okay.
And none of them had the time to call councils together unless you had done an emergency meeting. So they basically said, get it in, whether you have.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Jenny.
Uh-huh.
Department head reports. EMS, Jeff is not here and we will be going through his,
Yeah, he's coming off his vacation, so I don't think we're gonna. Lisa's not here, Park is not here. I thought Terry, you're here, and Bob's here, so those are the only two we have.
right. You have anything, Terry?
Couple things. I just want to say, the Fireman's Festival Saturday went off without a hitch, had a pretty good crowd. I was impressed with the heat that we had. It worked out pretty good. The downfall thing is we've got a little flooding problem at the station and working with Bob to see what's going on with it. We don't know exactly what's going on, but we got 2 inches of water in there. And in which we have had water in there since we built the building. So something's changed, altered, clogged, plugged, something's happening, but we're working on it. Good news, the engine one that was out, I was telling you, is estimated at $20,000 to $30,000. So that around $1,000.
Oh, good.
It was the cheap fix and it saved us. It was a miracle. It's been out. But it came back and that was a good thing for us. The other thing is the county volunteer fire departments are getting together and we're gonna have a raffle. We're trying to raise money to have, in case of somebody that doesn't have insurance that's on a fire department. We've had a couple cases where some people have underfunded. Someone's passed away in their household, somebody has got cancer, and there's no real funds to help those people out. So we're trying to get some kind of a fund built through the county that it could go to anybody in the county that falls in the category of this thing. I'll have more dates and stuff, and ticket sales are like $10 tickets. We're not going to try to give millions, but we're trying to get a fund started in case it happens like that. I'll have, I think next meeting I should have tickets or something and more information about what's going to happen.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you. Park?
No, other than what,
What's it-
approving that signage, yeah, we don't have anything.
Utilities?
I have a question for Terry, since his pump came in cheaper, could we put that much money towards my own? I really didn't have the one. I have nothing for you, thank you.
You want to talk about Eagle Check?
Oh, we can give an update, yeah.
Yeah, you want to give an
Monday,
update
We're
on?
gonna start demolition on that. Check those. Monsters lined up, machines lined up.
Is,
In,
the resource people been down here to,
no, I asked them to come this week, so we don't have any open doors, because they want the garage door, and they want, yes, they've walked it. But I asked them to wait till the end of this week, so they don't have the security in the building for
okay,
a long term.
okay.
They are coming, supposed to be here for that.
We saw no asbestos.
No asbestos, it was good.
Oh, good.
Amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
I think through all the remodels, it's been filtered out of there. It's demo.
Okay, thanks a lot. Boards and commissions, planning BZA. You're up.
We have a work session scheduled with the Planning Commission and the BZA for August the 12th. The new people that we have added to each of the boards. And then this information that's gone between the two groups, want to get them together, pound out these issues, get everybody back on good footing again.
Okay. Redevelopment,
Well, we passed.
passed everything. Okay.
Yeah,
Here
we
we are.
covered most of it.
Tree
we are-
commission.
Here I am.
You know, you got budget on Thursday.
Oh, I do.
Thought I'd let you know.
What time?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, I'll be there. And I've been told I'll get twice as much as last year, is that correct?
I don't know who told you that.
It's the extra from Terry's budget.
Yeah. Hey, Terry, yeah, he's got.
We only know how this budget meeting went.
Yeah. You might want to talk to Terry before you come on Thursday.
Got you, Terry. My backyard flooded the other night when there's lots of snow. That's the first time in 43 years I've had that. Something's wrong over there. I don't know what it was. It went right down. He's coming out of the station. They were pushing it right through the door.
The way to clear it is to drill holes in the side of the building so it flows better into his
Now,
property.
whose meter is that on the town's?
Very good. Thanks, Sally. I really.
Okay,
Let's
okay.
quick look around here and get down to the real brass tacks. The reason, so that some of you understand, because there's been faces actually since the last time I was here. The reason we don't meet is we don't meet that many times during the year. We make a plan, which we did last year. And when we make that plan, we implement the plan and report on it. And that's what the next hour, hour and a half, I have this all clear for you. Anyway.
That will have an impact on your Thursday budget. That will have an impact on your Thursday budget.
Just email it to us.
Can we save it till Thursday budget?
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
But anyway, is just to bring some of you up to date, over the last 15 years, we've planted about 500. And we've done a lot of that. And we've also taken down a number of trees. Last count I had was about 60 trees. A lot of these big old maples are just rotten inside them. So we've been removing them, and that's what we've been doing last year and this year. As if you don't know, our budget in the last 2 years has been 12,000 a year. And we used the whole 12,000 last year. And we've used all but $2,211.33 this year. Still have that, but I'm going to spend it because Karen won't give it to me if I don't. So we have, last fall and this spring, we took down
22 trees, big ones, some of them really good, some of you know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, you got one right next door to you.
Thank you.
And we also trimmed about 5 trees. And by trimming, I don't mean pruning the trees and taking them to shape them. I mean, basically someone calls and says, I got a big dead branch laying on top of my tree. Can you help me out? And actually, the tree service we use is Hooters, and they've been really good. And whenever we had one of those, William Bailey said, don't worry about it, we'll get up there and take it down. So they didn't charge us anything to do it. But that's what we've done last fall and this year so far. We have one more tree to take out. It's a mile. We were short on money, but we worked that out between Karen and Jenny and Bob. It happens to be on the south, Bill, you might be aware of this. It's on the south, I gotta get straight, southeast corner. Northeast corner. It's that huge tree that sits right in the corner that's lifting the curb. I talked to Bob about it. He really wants, oh, I'm sorry, Winfield.
Yeah, it's the one on the other side of me.
Yes, the other one. If you've been by there, and I know the two of you have, it's actually lives in the curb probably that high. So I talked to Hooters about it, and he's kind of backed up right now, but as soon as he can get a climber, and that's going to take a climber to get that thing down. As soon as he does that, we'll take that tree down, and that'll be it for this year. So that'll be the 23rd tree we take down. What we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and what we decided to do is we've created 23 holes in parkways. By holes, I mean places where there are no trees anymore. So we think that next year we need to plant some trees. The issue with that is what we have to do is we have to budget a certain amount of money to get Dogwood Street Farm to come here from Middlebury. And that's going to take about $7,500 to $8,500. Takes 25 to 26 trees to get them here for a day or 2 days to do that. So we're going to need to replace probably more than that. We probably need to replace 30 or 35 trees. But that's our budget. That's our goal for next year, is to get these open spots that we've accrued, taken out these trees and put some in. We also, and once you start taking trees down, guess what? The phone rings like crazy. So I've received another 8 calls from people who've asked us to take a look at and remove trees. So I started to look at some of those, and by the way, some of those trees are in the new bike path. So we've talked about this, and I've told the people that if it's a tree that's in the budget for that new bike path, it's going to be taken care of by that budget, not our budget. So I think I've got 3 or 4 of them right now that have asked about that. So that will be taken care of when the bike path goes in, or the walking path. And then we'll next year try to accommodate some of these removals, another 8 or 9 removals, if not more, with planting. The planting does not occur till the fall. As we started this thing years and years ago, we started doing things in the spring and found out that it's almost impossible. Wish we'd have done this year. We have plenty of water, but it's almost impossible to keep these trees watered. And when you get up to 400 or 500 trees, it's really difficult. So we've gone to planting trees in the late fall. That's late October, early November. They'll be planted. They get plenty of moisture over the winter, and they get a great start in the next spring. Taking down trees, we can do that anytime we want during the year. And Hooters has given us some really good pricing on the assumption that they will come to town when they have holes in their schedule. And we said, fine, that's okay with us. So we get I think a really, really good deal to take these things out.
Mike, just a FYI, I got a Another message from the 310 College Avenue property with that still has a remaining stump from a tree that we removed. The son is writing on behalf of her, the resident, to see if we're gonna come back and work on that some more.
We can. We've been there 3 times.
That's what I thought.
In fact, I talked to her and she was happy with it, so I haven't moved.
He just wrote me again
He
today.
did, her son did?
Yeah.
She's fine with it, so. The problem with that is when they cut the tree off, the lowest stump on the tree was probably a foot or foot and a half above the parkway. So they cut, in our agreement with them, they'll take 6 inches off, but Bill did 6 and then another 6 to try to get it down below the parkway grade. She had a number of decorative rocks planted around the tree. And originally she didn't want those removed. So Bill ground them down. And when I got back in town after the winter, that was still an issue. I think you talked about it at one of your meetings, if I'm not mistaken.
We talk about the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one up on College Avenue.
Yeah.
So Bill, I talked to him about it and he said he'd make another run at it and he took another 6 inches out of it. And Bob has been over there at plans. So do you know the situation now?
I haven't been up there lately. I
He
know the last time
literally-
you were up there and ground, we cleaned the stumps up, or the chips up, but.
And I went and looked at it and it was fine. It was at grade. Or
Dave
actually below grade.
Literally wrote it this morning.
I haven't been there lately.
We'll take it. Pardon me? Have you looked at it?
Yeah, he literally wrote me this morning about it. So I didn't want to give him your phone number without, like I was gonna just
I'll
forward
talk
it
to
to you.
But, you know, we will do it. I can't expect Hooters to grind 3 stumps for nothing. They've done it for nothing. So we have to get them back and take it down some more, but I went and looked at it after we did that 3rd grinding. I thought it was pretty good. But
Yeah,
I'll talk.
it is coming from the son, not her.
Yeah, have them call.
Okay.
So anyway, that's it.
Anything else? Okay. Clerks report.
I have 3 claims for your approval. The first one is Lake County Diver Supply for $3,448.60 for live equipment for the fire department. The second one is actually technically already approved, but United States Geological Survey for $4,000. That's for the maintenance of the lake gauge. And we split that cost actually between us, the Academies, and then the Lake Maxine-Kentucky Environmental Council. So it turns out to be $1,666. We take on the extra $50. And then the final one is Miller Insurance for $69,533. That's for the property liability, all the other insurance that comes in. I am meeting with him actually tomorrow. The agents are changing as the one agent that we've had retiring. And so I will be meeting with him to just discuss some different issues.
I got Troy Group on here too. Troy Group's on it.
That was actually a redevelopment commission.
Okay,
uh,
okay. Is
I
there a
move that we
motion?
approve the claims over $2,000.
Second.
Motion made by Rich and seconded by Sally to approve the claims over $2,000. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
At the last meeting, I requested that you make a motion to allow Culver to sign the ARPA application that was submitted last week. I received an email back on Friday stating that the application was approved and money should be in our account tomorrow for half of it.
Very good.
So we'll get a payment of $164,926.84.
164,
$926.84. So that's half of,
right, the 300 and.
yes.
Right.
I learned a new term because it's the tranche.
Oh, it's a tranche?
Yes.
That's a technical term used in bond markets.
Okay, well, that's the term going around is what these papers
Tranche,
are.
okay.
So,
Yep.
again, learn a new thing. All right, finally, I have one request for sewer forgiveness from the property owners at 315 South Slate Street. They're requesting one-time sewer forgiveness for $58.69. The outside hose was left on. Julie did make clear to them that this is a one-time thing and they wanted to go ahead and go forward with it.
Is there a motion to accept the forgiveness of the
$58.69.
$58.59? I was gonna say, is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion been made by Sally. Is there a second? Not hearing a second. Motion denied.
I'd make a motion if they
Attorney's report.
want to take it on such a.
I don't think I have anything further to add than what's been kicked around. Thank you.
Are we doing on Obispo in Ohio?
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Okay. then.
All
right,
working
then.
on Obispo. My friend, Mr. Sutter, called me today and reported that to them.
Okay.
And he's going to be in next Tuesday. Told me, he called you. He apologized. Says, I always tell you I'm going to do stuff that I never do. I said, well, yeah, I get that.
We got
I got that figured out.
And we're probably, Chuck and I have talked, we're probably gonna be like, we have nothing to meet on, take care of it or else.
But, he says, geez, I thought the ICE people were gonna take this thing away and they didn't. I found out later. And he says he now has somebody. And he had some reason for that. He says, I gotta get this done. He says he wants to put a roof on it and windows on it, and then hopes to buy time. So I said, well, you need to talk to.
So we won't
To Chuck.
deny him that.
So,
Okay,
I'm working on the one on Ohio.
good.
Yesterday, he's supposed to call me today and map out the timeline, and I told him I would support the timeline until he misses the first deadline.
Good.
After that, we're done.
and I talked to him before talking to her. And I'm gonna meet with the two of them next Tuesday. We still on at 9 o'clock for all sorts of things.
All right.
But other than that, I don't have anything.
Is there anyone here for a utility shut off ordinance violation? Hearing or seeing none. Next, we have citizen input. Is there anyone online for citizen input? If so, state your name and your input.
There are people online, but no one's on the meeting, so.
Hearing none, is there any citizen input in-house? Yes, sir.
Gary Cheselby, 520 South Plymouth.
Yeah, Gary.
Jenny, I think last month you said construction would begin on phase 2 of the trail.
Yeah, it went to bid this past week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Construction isn't likely to start till September-ish. We have to get the schedule from NDOT, but that it's usually a few months after the contractor bid comes through and they do pre-construction meetings and that sort of.
So it's basically green lighted at this point.
Yes.
The other question I had, since the tree commission is here, maybe it's still come for them. In walking the sidewalks around my neighborhood and that involved Main Street, I noticed a lot of trees are growing into the sidewalk and you have to duck or walk around them. Is that the homeowner's responsibility to keep the sidewalks clear of foliage?
Yeah, typically.
Okay.
Typically maintain the, I guess you call it parkway. Yeah.
If it's in the parkway, we'll trim it. We actually trim about every 3 years. And Dogwood Hills comes and does that for us, raises the crown of the tree. If it's inside the sidewalk, that's your responsibility.
The homeowner.
So what's the recourse for resolving this?
Hard to force people to trim their trees.
But people can't walk down the
We
sidewalk.
police it, like, I guess we try to do that. We don't have an ordinance for that though.
Well, if it's hanging over the right of way, we can't trim it. But that would take, so we rely on the homeowners to do it. If there's a certain place that needs it, that's.
Trying to get one homeowner just to cut back his tree to stop blocking a stop sign.
Yeah.
And that's a different situation. That's a
Yeah.
private tree.
And it's a public safety issue, but like, I'm like ready to. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Any other citizen input? Hearing or seeing none, council issues. William?
I'm happy to report, through the good efforts of our town attorney, that Mr. Boatsma is, being fined $100 a day.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start a little later because we didn't get the notice on him, but yes, the board's ready to take action to start.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anything else, Bill?
Yeah, that's all I have.
He says it's the town attorney, but it was his motion.
Rich?
No, nothing at this point.
Sally?
I have nothing as long as it's not any of my trees. Okay.
William?
I have no trees, so. But they're putting inside,
There you go.
finally.
I've only got one thing, and that's just to thank the council members that came to the ribbon cutting at the paddocks this past Saturday. There was a great turnout, and thank y'all for showing up. And that's all that. Is there a motion to adjourn the claims?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made, second to adjourn the claims. All those in favor?
Aye.
There we go. We're adjourned.
That was even close to the over and under.
I had.
Yeah.
I told Jenny this on the phone. I've been down here a couple of times to eat, and this is the busiest little town.
Yeah.
On the weekends.
It is.
Oh, it is on the weekend. Yeah, they come out of the woodwork.
It's like 11 to 5, 7 days a little quiet.
The old building?